A Werewolf Shifter Romance. Written by Amelia Hart. Chapter 1. Shadows of Silence. Iris Calloway awoke with a sharp intake of breath, her chest heaving as if she'd run a desperate race through moonlit woods. The remnants of a nightmare clung to her like cold mist, the haunting echoes of distant howls and the metallic scent of blood saturating the air. It was that night again, the night that changed everything, the night her world crumbled and her fierce wolf was chained in silence. Now, 10 years later, at 24, she lived a shadowed life beneath the canopy of the city, a ghost swathed in human skin. Her modest apartment, nestled on the outskirts of the bustling metropolis, was a sanctuary and a cell. The soft morning light filtered through worn blinds, casting fractured beams across pale walls cluttered with relics of a life half-lived. Iris was slight, a fragile figure veiled in earth-toned sweaters, but within those emerald eyes burned a storm tempered by years of survival. Chestnut curls framed a face marred by faint scars, etchings of battles fought in unseen wars. The wolf she once was roared silently beneath a veil of suppression, its fire dimmed but far from extinguished. Memories swirled unbidden, pulling her back to the darkest hours of her youth. She was 14 then, caught in the merciless crossfire of a brutal hunt that decimated her family and tore apart her pack. The night air had hung heavy with the scent of pine and blood. Her mother's terrified cries, her father's snarling defiance, the savage clash of claws against steel. It was all etched deep in her soul. The forest hadn't just been a battlefield, it had been a tomb. Trees bore silent witness to the carnage, their bark scored by claw marks and bullets. The blood-red moon hung overhead as if mourning the fallen. Iris remembered the searing pain as she collapsed, the bitter cold biting her skin, and then the shimmer of magic. Dark and merciless, descending in the form of Victoria Grimm. Victoria, the witch whispered about in fearful legend, had spared Iris from death, but at a cost that felt like a fresh brand across her spirit. With a touch, she sealed Iris's wolf away, a cruel mercy that muted the primal roar and bound her power to shadows. To be alive was to be silenced. 10 years passed under that silent curse. Iris lived in the shadows of the pack world, her nature caged, her identity stolen. She stayed hidden among humans, working as an assistant at Steel Ridge Securities, a company whose glass and steel towers masked the power struggles of the secret supernatural world beneath. The city around her was unaware of the dark empires controlled by pack hierarchies. Alphas ruled with iron wills, their territories stretching like invisible kingdoms. Their authority was absolute, maintained through laws older than the skyscrapers that pierce the sky. In this world, loyalty was currency, and power was the bloodline. The wolves cloaked in suits were as dangerous as any beast in the wild. The ancient pack laws dictated balance and order, yet beneath the surface simmered unrest, a war brewing in silence. For Iris, the rules were clear. Concealment was survival. She was a fugitive from herself, navigating a precarious path between two worlds. Her wolf remained a thief in the night, restless and imprisoned, yearning for release. That evening, fate shattered her fragile peace. A sudden attack tore through the Steel Ridge building. A hailstorm of gunfire and chaos. Sirens blared as offices emptied, leaving corridors littered with fear. Trapped in a stalled elevator, Iris's heartbeat pounded louder than the alarms. The doors slid open, revealing Knox Steel Ridge, the legendary Alpha, CEO, and man whose reputation rippled through the supernatural underground like thunder. Towering and composed, his steel-gray eyes locked onto hers with unnerving precision. Knox sensed her suppressed power immediately, an echo beneath the carefully crafted human shell. Iris felt an involuntary shiver as his commanding presence washed over her. A predator's magnetism mixed with the faintest thread of protector. In that confined metal box, time stilled. Words unspoken hung between them, electric and raw. Knox's aura radiated control and confidence. Iris bristled, torn between instinctual fear and something deeper, a connection that sang to the wolf she thought forever lost. Beyond those walls, the world marched unaware. Inside, the dormant beast stirred, clawing at the chains of magic, ready to reclaim what was stolen. The past was no longer a ghost. It was a tempest waiting to break free. And so, beneath the shadows of a city that never slept, two worlds collided, setting in motion a reckoning born from silence and blood. Each morning found Iris weaving through the city's veins like a shadow, her footsteps soft against cracked sidewalks, her presence unnoticed yet profoundly burdened. The city's heartbeat was loud but distant, muffled beneath the roar of a wolf silenced. Her work at Steel Ridge Securities was as unremarkable as she appeared. Emails sent, calls answered, schedules maintained. Yet hidden amidst the daily grind were whispers, rumors of power plays and alliances forged in glass towers, far from the human eyes. The pack's influence stretched deep, their claws embedded in the world's foundations. Knox Steel Ridge was the apex of this clandestine hierarchy. His name alone was enough to command silence in the darkest corners, his presence legendary among packs scattered across the coast. Tall, broad-shouldered, his charisma masked a relentless hunger for control, born from scars too deep for the eye to see. Iris recalled the rare moments from her childhood when the pack throve under moonlit nights, howls weaving through the trees like an ancient hymn. Now those memories were fragile shards, often interrupted by the harsh reality of her muted existence. The city was a cage, but her mind was a battlefield of longing and fear. She clung to the rituals of normalcy desperately, yet the past spun restless webs in her dreams and waking hours alike. In the elevator's cramped space, Knox's measured breaths filled the charged silence. His gaze, unyielding yet oddly gentle, searched hers with the ease of one accustomed to reading souls like maps. The scent of suppressed power lingered about her, a subtle yet undeniable marker that stirred his alpha instincts. For Knox, Iris was an enigma wrapped in fragile flesh, a puzzle piece misplaced but vital. The darkness outside pressed in as footsteps approached, their every second together ticking toward inevitable confrontation. Yet within that brief interlude, a fragile understanding sparked, a promise etched in silence between two worlds colliding. She dared to wonder if the wolf within, long dormant, could ever rise again. Iris's hands clenched as the elevator groaned under the weight of machinery pushed beyond its limits. The cold metal walls closed in, stench of oil mixing with her rising panic. Her mind raced, memories swirling with the cold present, shadows merging into one. Could she still find that wild part of her buried deep beneath layers of fear and silence? Was the curse permanent, or merely a barrier waiting to be shattered? The silence pressed thick, broken only by the distant thunder of footsteps and the sharp click of the elevator's emergency lights. Her heart beat a fractured rhythm, one part dread, one part a hidden spark begging emergence. When the doors slid open, she met the gaze that would change everything. The cold, commanding steel of Knox Steel Ridge. The moment was a pivot, a first step toward reclaiming what she had lost. Fear battled hope in a tangled dance deep inside her chest. Every instinct screamed for survival, yet the ember of something more, of rediscovery, of courage, flickered weakly but persistently. She was a prisoner of the past, but perhaps, just perhaps, the chains were not unbreakable. The wolf within stirred, faint and restless, and for the first time in 10 years, Iris felt the whisper of awakening. Chapter 2. Unseen Sparks. The sterile air inside the elevator was thick with unspoken tension. The hum of the stalled machinery echoed softly around Knox Steel Ridge and Iris Calloway. Two souls caught in a moment that seemed suspended outside of time. Knox's gaze bore into her, sharp steel eyes that seemed to see beyond the human mask she wore, peeling back layers of carefully constructed denial. Iris's pulse quickened, her breath shallow despite her desperate attempts to steady it. The years of silence and hiding had built walls around the wolf burning beneath her skin, but his presence was a living storm tearing down the barriers. She fought the instinct to recoil, to protect the fragile human shell she'd constructed over a decade. "You're hiding something," Knox said, voice low and steady, edged with authority. "That wolf inside you is screaming to be heard." Her heartbeat threatened to betray her as the elevator trembled, the faintest creak of metal foreshadowing imminent danger lurking just beyond the closed doors. Yet Nox's words held a strange weight, a call to acknowledge the part of herself she had long shackled in darkness. Defiant yet vulnerable, she fixed her gaze on him. "I'm more than what you think." Before Nox could reply, a breathless silence was broken by the sharp click of the elevator jerking. The tight space suddenly blurred as Nox's form shifted, muscles tightening, bones reshaping with a smoothness born of centuries-old power. Where moments before stood a man, now a wolf's fierce silhouette took shape, eyes blazing with primal dominance. The scent that enveloped her was intoxicating, raw and commanding, pulling at the threads of her buried nature. Despite herself, Iris felt a primal surge, a flicker of recognition igniting deep within. The wolf she thought lost, stirred by the presence of the alpha. The bond was electric, and yet fraught with tension. Nox was both threat and protector, a living paradox that challenged everything she thought she knew about control and surrender. "You don't have to hide anymore," he whispered, voice rough with a promise. "Not when the wolf inside you wants to run free." But Iris's resolve remained fierce. She was no longer the frightened girl from the past who'd surrendered her power. "I've survived because I've hidden. If I let go now, who will I become?" Nox's gaze softened, betraying glimpses of his own haunted past. "Whoever you're meant to be." The elevator jolted again, a sharp warning that danger was closing in fast. Steps pounded in the hallway outside, voices shouting orders that echoed like distant storms. The fragile moment between them shattered by reality's harsh intrusion. Nox shifted back to human, the wolf retreating, but the fire in his eyes unyielding as he stepped protectively closer. "We need to move before they find us." Iris nodded, adrenaline flooding her veins. Her fears momentarily drowned in the swell of raw emotion between them. The magnetic pull that neither could deny had shifted something fundamental. Within the cage of steel walls, a bond had been forged on the edge of awakening. As the elevator doors clanged open, the night beyond promised chaos and choices that would unbind the silence of years. For Iris, it was the beginning of a reckoning where the war between wolf and human would finally rage open, and where Nox, the alpha, might just be the key to the wild awakening she feared and desired. Iris's mind swirled with images of a past shattered and a present unraveling. The faint metallic taste of fear lingered on her tongue as memories flashed. Her mother's desperate warning, the roar of the pack's last stand, and the sealing of her power by hands she wished she could erase. Around them, every breath Nox took was measured and deliberate, his alpha presence a beacon in the confined darkness. The wolf form he assumed was more than just a shape. It was a declaration of dominance, a shield, and a promise. Moonlight might never touch this elevator, but the primal energy was palpable, suffusing the stale air with wildness and control entwined. Her fingers curled into fists, nails digging into palms, as the pull between them intensified. She recalled forbidden tales whispered among the pack, about alphas who could ignite the hidden power in others with a mere touch, awakening what had long been dormant. The thought scared her, and stirred an ache deep within. Nox's eyes locked with hers, and for a moment, the harsh grays dimmed, replaced with something fragile, a flicker of understanding that mirrored her own battle between fear and desire. "You fight the inevitable," he murmured, his voice barely more than a rumble. "But it's your choice. You can surrender, or rise." She swallowed hard, torn. Every fiber screamed to protect the fragile walls she built around her soul, yet the allure of release, of reclaiming her true self, pulled relentlessly. Suddenly sharp noises pierced the enclosure, footsteps pounding, breaths ragged. The attackers were close, their intentions clear and deadly. Nox shifted back into his human form with practiced grace, the wolf's fire dimming but not extinguished. Without breaking eye contact, he reached out, offering a hand, not just for escape, but as an unspoken pledge. "Come with me, Iris. Let me protect you. Let me help you find the wolf again." Her gaze flickered between fear and longing, shadows of the past and whispers of the future. The elevator's metal confines felt like the last bastion of a hold she wasn't sure she could keep any longer. With trembling resolve, she accepted his hand, stepping out. The moment the elevator doors slid open, A harsh blast of cold air swept in from the corridor, laden with the scent of danger and urgency. Fluorescent lights flickered overhead, casting the hallway in a strobe of shadows that danced along cold steel and cracked tile. Knox's grip was firm but gentle, a steady anchor in the turbulence of fear and uncertainty that roiled within Iris. His gaze never wavered from hers, conveying unshakable determination and a promise of protection. "Stay close," he instructed, his voice a low command edged with concern. Every muscle in his body radiated readiness, his alpha instincts firing as the threat loomed nearer. Iris nodded, swallowing the lump in her throat. The walls of the corporate fortress twisted around them like a labyrinthine cage, each step forward a step deeper into a world she had tried desperately to leave behind. As they moved through silent corridors, flashing memories haunted her. The lullabies whispered by her mother beneath moonlit nights, runs through forest trails with siblings and packmates, the excruciating silence forced upon her wolf. Knox's presence was both shield and spark, igniting emotions Iris had buried beneath years of self-denial. She questioned every beat of her heart. A war between the fragile human and the wild beast clawing to breathe. The danger outside was real and fast approaching, but inside her, a different battle raged. A struggle for identity, power, and trust. Could she trust Knox? The alpha who embodied everything she feared and desired? The man who made her question the very cage she'd cloaked herself in for a decade? Every instinct screamed to run, to hide, but beneath the fear, a faint pulse of hope stirred. The promise that perhaps, together, they could defy the chains forged by time and darkness. The city's heartbeat was wild tonight, and so was hers. The dance between prey and predator had begun, but neither could foresee where the first step would lead. Iris inhaled sharply, the electric charge between them sparking wildfires beneath her skin. This was no longer just about survival. It was about awakening, the kind that could shatter the silence, break the chains, and ignite a war neither was fully prepared to face. Knox's eyes burned with fierce promise as he whispered, "We have no choice but to face what's coming." Together, as the distant echoes of their pursuers grew louder, Iris felt the fragile walls inside her begin to crumble. The wolf was stirring, and so was the storm. Chapter 3. Tides of Trust. The chill of the night air bit sharply against Iris's skin as Knox Steel Ridge guided her through the shadow-draped streets away from the chaos erupting within Steel Ridge securities. The echoes of frantic footsteps and distant shouts still hung heavy in the air, but her heart hammered with a different rhythm, a quiet pulse of unexpected hope. Knox kept a protective hand lightly resting on her back as they slipped into the sanctuary of his sprawling estate, nestled on the outskirts of the city. The mansion's cold stone and towering walls contrasted starkly with the wild thunderstorm raging inside her chest. "You're safe here," Knox murmured, voice low but unwavering. Iris glanced around, taking in the blend of sleek modern security and ancient runes carved subtly into doorposts and archways, a testament to the fusion of business acumen and supernatural legacy Knox embodied. Her mind raced, questioning everything, yet a strange calm settled with Knox's presence. Like the eye of a storm, they moved inside, the heavy door sealing behind them with a definitive thud. The quiet library became their refuge, its shelves lined with leather-bound tomes that whispered secrets of old pack lore and magic. Knox gestured to a seat near the fireplace, its flickering flames casting dancing shadows that softened the tension in the room. "You warned me that I hid something," Iris began, her voice barely above a whisper. "But I don't even fully understand what I am anymore." Knox's gaze softened as he regarded her. "You're more powerful than you realize. Your courage, your purity of spirit. It sets you apart." Iris's eyes flooded with tears she refused to shed. "A decade ago, Victoria Grimm sealed away my powers. She made me into a ghost, a shadow of the wolf I was meant to be." Knox's fists clenched, his jaw tightening. "Victoria Grimm. She's a mark of darkness few dare face. But you're not alone anymore." The conversation was interrupted by a faint rhythmic tapping at the window, subtle, deliberate. Knox's eyes flicked to the sound, narrowing as a flicker of alarm crossed his features. "They're watching," he said bluntly. Despite the threat looming outside, a fragile bond was cementing within the room. Between them rested unspoken fears and budding trust, the first fragile threads of an alliance. Knox's voice lowered. "I'll tell you about my past, the burdens I carry, the responsibilities of leading a pack that spans hundreds." Iris listened intently as Knox recounted the weight of leadership, the constant threats, the political machinations, the unbearable loneliness. His vulnerabilities were a mirror to her own. Hours passed unnoticed as walls crumbled between the predator and the prey, revealing two souls scarred but unbroken. Through whispered revelations and shared silences, a connection blossomed. Raw, unrefined, but real. Outside, the storm of shadows and secrets brewed, but inside, the dawn of understanding flickered beneath the steady pulse of burgeoning trust. Iris found herself drawn to Knox's strength, but more so to the vulnerability he hid behind his alpha exterior. His admission of loneliness, the unyielding weight of leadership, made her realize that beneath the surface, she was not as alone as she had believed. As the night deepened, the room seemed to close around them. Two souls adrift, colliding in the vastness of a world more dangerous than either had known. The lines between hunter and hunted blurred as their shared pain forged a fragile alliance. Knox's hand brushed hers in a fleeting gesture of reassurance, a silent promise that he would stand by her side, even as the darkness pressed ever closer. But even trust had its limits. The threat outside was relentless, and the enemies waiting in shadows were patient. But to find solace for a moment, to breathe in the possibility of something more, was a risk both were willing to take. After settling beside the warm glow of the hearth, Iris closed her eyes for a moment, trying to push back the waves of doubt crashing over her. Her mind drifted to the rare times she remembered freedom, moments before the curse when moonlight had bathed her, and the pack in a silver glow, their howls echoing in unison, unafraid and fierce. Those memories were bittersweet, shadows of a self she longed to reclaim, but feared might be lost forever. The silence imposed by Victoria Grimm was a constant reminder that power could be stolen as easily as life. Knox seemed to sense her turmoil. He offered a small, understanding smile, the hardened edges of his alpha demeanor softening just enough to reveal the man beneath. "I lost much, too," he confessed softly. "A past full of promises and betrayals. Leading a pack isn't just power. It's chains too heavy to bear alone." Iris found unexpected comfort in his words, the raw honesty bridging the gap between their worlds. The flickering firelight cast shadows that danced like memories, fractured yet alive. The night wore on, and words flowed more freely. Knox spoke of his duty to protect not just his pack, but the fragile peace threading through the city's hidden supernatural web. Iris revealed bits of her fragmented past, the sting of isolation, and the burning question of what she might become if she reclaimed her wolf. The connection between them deepened, stitched with vulnerability and unspoken desires. A soft warmth spread through Iris, a gentle balm to old wounds. Yet lurking beyond the safety of the walls was the undeniable presence of their enemies, silent watchers waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Knox's protective gaze never wavered, a constant sentinel against the encroaching darkness. As dawn's first light threatened the horizon, Iris felt the weight of her journey settle firmly on her shoulders. She wasn't just a shadow anymore. She was awakening. Knox's voice dropped to a near whisper. "There are forces at work far greater than pack rivalries. Old magic, brutal and merciless. Victoria Grimm is only one shadow among many." Iris shivered despite the fire's warmth, the weight of Knox's words pressing down like a storm cloud. Her fingers intertwined nervously, reflecting on the witch who robbed her of power and family. "How do you fight an enemy you cannot see?" she asked. Knox's grin was bittersweet. "With allies, with fire, and with heart." He extended his hand again, this time not in urgency, but in solidarity. Iris hesitated, 1,000 questions swirling, but the steady pulse from his touch was grounding. As the night deepened outside, the estate seemed to breathe with them, walls infused with protective enchantments and ancient strength. For a moment, the darkness was held at bay. Beneath the weight of history and pain, something fragile and precious began to grow. The first true bond between a hunted wolf and an alpha's promise. Tomorrow the fight would begin anew, but tonight, amidst whispered truths and quiet understanding, Iris found a flicker of light she thought lost. As the fire crackled, Iris's thoughts spiraled. Trust, a fragile thread she had long avoided, tugged at her heart. Knox was a force, yet beneath his uncompromising exterior, she sensed a well of quietly held pain. "Can I trust you?" she whispered, eyes searching his. Knox's gaze softened. "Trust isn't given lightly in our world, but I will earn it, step by step." The hours slipped away in the cocoon of shared secrets and guarded smiles. Outside, the city slept under a fragile veil of peace, but inside, two wounded souls stitched together a fragile hope. For the first time in a decade, Iris allowed herself to imagine a future where silence could become a voice, where the wolf within would emerge, wild and unashamed. The road ahead was perilous, but with Knox beside her, the night's shadows seemed a little less daunting. Chapter 4. Flames. Between Shadows. The days that followed were a whirlwind of discovery and challenge as Iris moved through Knox's world, a realm where ruthless business met ancient power. The estate was vast and forbidding, the walls whispering secrets of generations of alphas who had ruled with iron will and relentless ambition. Their mornings began with rigorous training sessions in the estate's secluded courtyard, where Knox's commanding presence filled the air. His voice was firm, each command sharp and precise as he guided her through movements designed not just for self-defense, but to awaken dormant strength. "Focus, Iris," he urged, his eyes fierce yet encouraging. "This isn't just about muscle. It's about mastering the wolf inside, controlling it, not being controlled." Iris's muscles burned, sweat mingling with determination. Each strike and evade was a battle between fear and resolve. Knox was relentless but patient, pushing her boundaries while never overwhelming. Between training sessions, moments of vulnerability and unexpected softness revealed themselves. Over late dinners in the estate's grand dining hall, adorned with ancestral portraits and the echo of whispered legacies, Knox shared the burdens of his role. "Leadership is a heavy crown," he confided one evening, tracing the rim of his glass absent-mindedly. "I protect hundreds of lives, navigate political storms, and make decisions that no one else can bear." Iris found herself opening too, her guarded heart cracking under the weight of shared confessions. She spoke of nights haunted by silence, of a life half-lived and wolf-denied. Her voice trembled as she whispered, "Sometimes, I wonder if I'm still whole or just a shadow." Knox reached across the table, his hand covering hers, steadying. "You're more than a shadow. You're the dawn waiting to break." The attraction simmered beneath the surface, growing with each charged look and brush of hands. Yet, fear and past hurts cast long shadows over their tentative closeness. Outside the estate, the world darkened. Victoria Grimm's influence pressed from the shadows, her agents probing Knox's defenses, searching for weakness. The city was a chessboard of power, and every move carried life or death stakes. One night, as a thunderstorm rattled the windows, Knox and Iris found themselves alone in the grand library. Their conversation slowed, and voices softened by months of mutual trust forming. A spark of something unspoken ignited as Knox closed the distance, lips nearly brushing hers, a moment pregnant with promise and peril. Before it could blossom, a sudden crack shattered the tension. A shot fired into the night, the bullet lodging in the wood beside them. Knox's instincts flared instantly, command sharpening his voice. "They're closing in. This isn't over." Iris felt the rush of adrenaline, her resolve solidifying like tempered steel. The battles ahead would test every bond, every secret, but the fire kindling between them was no flicker. It was a blaze. In the face of darkness, love was a fierce and unyielding flame. As days turned to weeks, the carefully woven fabric of their relationship began to unfold in unexpected ways. Each dawn brought new sorrow and hope, a complex tapestry of shared pain and tentative trust. Iris grappled with the legacy of silence imposed upon her, the heavy chains of a past she could not shake. Memories of her family's final night haunted her. The desperate faces, the cracked moonlight over shredded leaves, the agony of losing the wolf that once roared within. But Knox offered a lifeline, steady and unwavering. His stories cast light on a world cloaked in shadow, revealing not just his strength but the vulnerability he rarely showed. Leading a pack was a constant battle against internal and external forces, political intrigues that could sever alliances overnight, betrayals lurking within ranks, and the never-ending threat of enemies seeking to topple his reign. Iris listened, captivated and humbled. In Nox's strength, she found a mirror for her own rising courage, a courage born from years of hiding and surviving alone. Their training sessions, once just physical, grew into lessons in trust and surrender. Nox taught her to read the subtle language of the pack, the silent cues and unspoken bonds that held their world together. Each lesson was a step towards reclaiming the wolf forced into shadow. Yet, the transformation was as much emotional as it was physical. Their exchanges sparkled with tension, quiet glances that lingered too long, breaths caught in anticipation, hands brushing only to retreat. The walls Nox raised were formidable, but Iris's unyielding spirit chipped at the barriers. One evening, beneath the sprawling branches of an ancient oak on the estate grounds, Nox shared a rare laugh, a sound that slipped past his guarded facade and touched Iris's heart. "You're stubborn," he remarked, eyes gleaming with reluctant admiration. "But so am I." It was a moment of pure humanity amid the relentless pull of their feral nature. But peace was fleeting. News of Victoria's growing influence filtered through Nox's inner circle, each whisper a threat tightening like a noose. The pack's enemies grew bolder, their moves more calculated. Victoria's vision of dominance was merciless, her agents' ruthless shadows cast across every corner of the city. A clandestine meeting revealed plans that sent a chill through Nox's bones. Iris watched his face darken, the weight of impending war settling heavily between them. Through it all, their connection deepened, not merely born of circumstance, but forged in shared battle and burgeoning trust. Love bloomed clandestinely, a fragile flower battling to rise amidst the shadows of danger. Their journey was far from over, and the path ahead was riddled with pitfalls. Yet, in each other, Nox and Iris glimpsed a future where darkness could be challenged, and a new legacy born. On stormy nights, the tension between Nox and Iris became almost palpable. In the dim glow of the library's lanterns, their conversations dripped with layers of meaning, each word a carefully hidden confession. One evening, as thunder rumbled overhead, Nox moved closer, his arm nearly brushing hers. Their eyes locked, breaths mingled. The air was electric, anticipation thick and suffocating. Iris's heart thundered as Nox's hand hovered near her cheek, a moment suspended between desire and hesitation. But before the promise could be sealed, a sudden crack shattered the fragile intimacy, a bullet slamming into the wood beside them, splinters flying. Nox's eyes blazed with fury and resolve. "They're coming for you," he growled, his voice a weapon. Iris pulled back, breath trembling, but defiance sparked in her gaze. Let them come. The stakes had never been higher. Their fragile dance of attraction was now a battlefront, and both were most vulnerable. The flame burning between them had ignited, refusing to be snuffed out, even as shadows closed in from every side. That night, the storm outside was fierce, a mirror to the turmoil within Iris. Raindrops lashed against the windows, each thunderclap a drumbeat of the battle to come. In the quiet moments between, Nox's presence was a steady rock amidst swirling seas of uncertainty. Iris grappled with the duality coursing through her veins, the fierce wolf yearning to break free, and the cautious human clinging to the fragile hope of survival. Every step closer to Nox was a step into unknown territory, where desire and danger intertwined inextricably. She knew the path ahead was fraught with peril, but the embers of something raw and powerful glowed brighter with each passing moment. A bond forged in fire and shadow, daring to defy fate itself. Chapter 5. Shattered Veils. The fragile veil between trust and betrayal tore apart in a whirlwind of revelations that shook the foundations of Iris and Nox's world. Secrets long buried clawed their way to the surface, exposing fractured truths and devastating lies. Iris's heart pounded as the truth emerged like a tempest. Victoria Grimm's cruel machinations ran deeper than either had imagined. The The witch's power stretched across the city's shadows, manipulating pack rivalries and controlling bonds with merciless precision. The shattering news came with a weight neither could ignore. Iris's family had not perished as she'd believed, but were torn apart and sold into servitude among rival packs. The revelation hit like a brutal blow, reopening wounds she had tried desperately to seal. Knox's jaw clenched tightly at the revelation. Worse yet, he uncovered a damning truth within his own bloodline. His father had been a silent player, purchasing Iris's brother years ago, binding their fates in tangled, painful ways. The room spiraled in chaos. Rage and despair grappled within Iris, a maelstrom of betrayal and abandonment. Knox moved to steady her, to anchor the storm, threatening to engulf them both. But their fragile bond was tested as external forces closed in. Victoria's influence sparked civil wars among packs, and covert attacks escalated into brutal sieges. The fragile peace Knox had fought so hard to maintain was unraveling. The underbelly of the supernatural world crackled with tension. The underground marketplaces turned battlegrounds, secret alliances shattered, and ancient rivalries reignited. The city's shadows whispered of coming war. A clandestine gathering revealed traitors within Knox's most trusted council, wolves bought by Victoria's dark promises, ready to strike at the heart of the matriarch's dominion. Knox's leadership was strained to its limits. Every decision was a razor's edge between survival and annihilation. Each act of strategy either mended fraying alliances or sowed deeper chaos. Meanwhile, Iris was a prisoner in Victoria's hidden lair, a place pulsating with dark magic and cruelty. She fought her chains as venomous whispers aimed to crush her spirit and renew the curse silencing her wolf. Each passing moment tightened the seal until only the breaking of ancient spells and raw power could free her. The kidnapping was a gambit, a desperate play in a game where pawns were sacrificed without mercy. Knox's fury ignited a citywide hunt. Alerting his pack, he marshaled allies and prepared for a siege that would shake the foundations of their world. Iris, caught between fear and defiance, summoned forgotten strength, a beacon in the impending storm. Memories of her family's courage and her own silent resilience became her armor in the darkest hours. As Victoria tightened her grip, Knox's forces closed in, the inevitable collision looming. With each breath, the shadow of war darkened the horizon. In the crucible of loss, betrayal, and relentless pursuit, Iris and Knox faced the ultimate test. Their deepest fears, their fragmented pasts, and the fragile hope of redemption. The path forward would demand sacrifice, courage, and the breaking of chains older than time itself. The shockwaves of broken truths left Iris questioning everything she had held dear. The memories of her childhood, now tainted by the knowledge of betrayal, cast a long, dark shadow over her resolve. How could she reconcile the love for a family lost with the bitter sting of their fate? Knox was her anchor amid the turmoil, yet even he was restrained by the weight of his own secrets. The revelation about his father fractured the foundation of his leadership, forcing him to confront a legacy of greed and manipulation. In the dimly lit war room beneath his estate, Knox convened his most trusted allies. Maps sprawled across oak tables, faces grim as they plotted the defense of their pack and planned the rescue of Iris. Every decision was underscored by urgency and peril. The enemies they faced were not mere rivals. They were puppeteers of chaos, masters of old magic and modern subterfuge. Meanwhile, bound and isolated in Victoria's lair, Iris faced a psychological war. The witch's spells twisted reality, aiming to erode her spirit and deepen the curse that muted her wolf. The darkness whispered lies, feeding fears that promised eternal silence. But Iris was no longer the frightened girl silenced a decade ago. Beneath the chains of magic, sparks of power flickered, fueled by memories of her mother's fierce love and her father's unwavering roar. Her captive isolation became a crucible, forging a fiery resolve that promised she would not be broken. Knox's every plan hinged on time. Time to locate her. Time to breach the fortress of shadows. Time to prevent Victoria from completing her dark ritual. The city's supernatural underworld trembled on the edge of war. Alphas marshaled their forces, preparing for conflict that threatened to rip apart alliances and tear open old wounds. As the pieces moved on the chessboard of power, the lines between friend and foe blurred, and every step carried deadly consequences. In the heart of despair, Iris clung to hope. The hope that strength born of silence could roar again. The wolf within was awakening, and with Nox's storm gathering behind her, the reckoning was near. The night of the rescue was charged with tension and peril. Nox led a fierce contingent of his pack, stealth and firewires on their side as they stormed the shadowed fortress housing Victoria's twisted dominion. The air was thick with ancient magic and palpable danger, each step a battle against time itself. Inside, Iris summoned every shred of strength as the dark seal began to falter, her wolf howling in silent defiance against the chains. Her captors were relentless, but her spirit burned brighter, unyielding to the dark magic suppressing her. Nox's arrival was thunderous, a force of nature breaking through the witch's defenses. The clash was brutal, raw power against cold cruelty, light battling shadow in a tempest that shook the very bones of the city. Amid the chaos, Nox reached Iris, their eyes locking in fierce determination and relief. His bite, a transfer of raw alpha power, was the key, shattering the seal and igniting the dormant wolf within her. Transformation was agonizing and glorious, power flooding through Iris like wildfire as centuries of silence dissolved into fierce, unbroken song. Together, they fought their way from the lair, a duo reborn in fire and blood, their bond forged in the crucible of combat and newfound power. As dawn broke over the city, the storm had passed, but the war was far from over. Their journey had taken a turn impossible to undo, pushing them into the heart of darkness and the blazing light of a destiny they could no longer deny. In the quiet moments after the battle, as the first light brushed the city, Iris and Nox stood together, transformed and entwined by fate and fire. The wolf inside her was no longer a silent prisoner. It howled in fierce defiance, reclaiming her identity. Nox looked at her with a mixture of pride and vulnerability, knowing they had crossed a threshold that would forever change their lives. The road ahead would be wrought with challenges, but for the first time in years, there was hope, a fierce, unshakable hope that their bond would weather the coming storm. With the shattered veil behind them, Iris embraced her true power, and together with Nox, they prepared to face the darkness looming on the horizon. Chapter 6. Inferno's Edge. The weight of the coming battle pressed on every soul within Nox Steelridge's pack. Night had cloaked the city in deep shadows, but within the fortified compound, a storm of preparation raged. Alphas, betas, and warriors moved with singular purpose, ancient magics intertwined with steel and sweat to form a bulwark against the darkness. Nox paced beneath the starlit sky, the weight of leadership bearing down like a relentless tide. His thoughts drifted to Iris, the woman who had become more than just his mate. She was the ember of hope in a realm threatened by unending night. Iris, standing beside him, radiated a newfound power. The bite she bore, a gift and a bond, seared through her veins, awakening senses and abilities more so than she had ever dared imagine. The wolf within roared free, her form agile and fierce, muscles taut with anticipation. "Tonight," Nox said, voice thick with determination, "we either break these chains or perish trying." The battleground was a twisted maze of sharp angles and broken earth, scarred from years of conflict forgotten by the world, but etched deeply into pack memory. The enemy awaited, witches weaving spells, rogue wolves driven by vengeance, and shadowy mercenaries bought by Victoria Grimm's unyielding thirst for control. The clash erupted with raw ferocity. Fang met steel, spells sparked in the air like lightning bolts, and the earth trembled beneath pounding paws. The pack moved as one, a coordinated tempest, their unity forged in blood and shared history. Iris felt every strike, every near miss, every cry of a fallen comrade. Pain blossomed as sharp claws raked her side, but her wolf's fury was a shield and a sword. She reached deep, summoning the healing fire that Nox's bite had unlocked, knitting flesh and spirit in the heat of the storm. Nox was a whirlwind of power and passion, his every movement a masterstroke of lethal beauty. His voice rose, rallying the fighters, cutting through chaos with clarity and command. But darkness bore down relentlessly. an enemy unlike any before, a dark sorcerer bound to Victoria, unleashed curses designed to break minds and spirits. The pack faltered, and hope dimmed. In the heart of chaos, Nox made a gut-wrenching choice. With a primal roar, he offered himself as a vessel to transfer alpha energy directly to Iris. The transfer was agonizing, a flood of raw power that threatened to consume them both. Iris screamed, her body and soul alight with the ancient fire. The pain was exquisite and terrible, tears streaming down her face as centuries of silence shattered in a symphony of unleashed power. Together, they became an unstoppable force, a melding of alpha might and untamed wolf spirit. Their enemies crumbled before the onslaught, their dark magic splintering like fragile glass. The battle waned, the cries fading into an uneasy silence. Survivors regrouped, standing amidst the ruin with hearts pounding and wounds deep, but spirits unbroken. Nox and Iris clung to one another, not simply as mates, but as survivors, warriors bound by the fires of combat and unshakable love. As dawn brushed the horizon with hues of gold and crimson, the battlefield bore witness to a new era, forged in sacrifice, strength, and the unyielding roar of the wolf awakened. The inferno's edge had been crossed, and from the ashes, hope soared. In the quiet lulls between the chaos, Iris grappled with the enormity of her transformation. The raw power coursing through her veins was intoxicating yet terrifying. Memories of a silence imposed upon her flickered like distant thunder, decades of muffled howls breaking free in a single blaze. Her mind swirled with visions of her family's legacy, the sacrifices made, the battles lost and won. She saw herself not as the scared girl bound by curses, but as a fierce lioness reclaiming her birthright. Nox stood silently near, the commanding alpha whose stoic facade hid scars deeper than any wound. His steady presence grounded her, a tether in the fury of untamed magic and shifting loyalties. Together, they surveyed the battlefield, a scarred mosaic of blood, earth, and destruction. The city skyline was a distant blur beneath the first promises of dawn, but here, in the crucible of war, history was written anew. The victory was hard-won and hollow. Each fallen warrior was a dagger to the heart, each shattered alliance a reminder that peace was a fragile, fleeting dream. Still, there was solace in the fierce bond they had forged. Two souls intertwined in the dance of power and vulnerability. Their union symbolized more than love. It was a beacon of resilience and defiance against the encroaching dark. The path ahead was steeped in uncertainty. Whispered tales foretold of darker threats lurking beyond the veil, ancient evils simmering in forgotten corners. But Iris, now awakened and whole, stood ready, the wolf inside no longer a ghost but a roaring tempest, her voice lifting in a howl that would echo through the ages. Nox's grip tightened on her hand, a silent vow and promise of battles yet to come. Together, they would face the inferno's edge and emerge stronger, united in fire and fury. The clash of steel and howl of wolf echoed into the night as Iris ventured deeper into her unleashed fury. Each strike was fueled by the weight of a decade's silence, every flex of muscle a reclaiming of freedom. The battlefield was her proving ground, each breath a testament to survival. Nox fought with a relentless precision, his every movement a symphony of power, grounded by the wisdom of centuries. His eyes never left Iris, a beacon of strength that bolstered his own resolve. Amidst the carnage, moments of profound connection intertwined with the brutality. Their eyes met across the battlefield. Silent encouragement exchanged amid the tumult. Pain was an old friend and new foe. Nox's wounds were many, yet he pressed on, unwilling to let the shadows claim what he had fought for. Iris felt the sting of fresh cuts, but embraced the agony as a marking of rebirth. This battle was not just a fight for survival, but a crucible to forge a new destiny. Each enemy defeated chipped away at the darkness encroaching on their world. However, the war was far from over, and the cost of victory weighed heavily on both. As dawn painted the horizon, the remnants of battle lay scattered, a testament to sacrifice and unyielding spirit. Exhausted yet victorious, Nox and Iris found solace in each other's arms. Their bond, tempered in fire, was unbreakable. The inferno's edge had been crossed. Now, they faced the future, not as broken souls, but as champions of a new dawn. In the quiet aftermath, as the city slowly awakened beneath the rising sun, Nox and Iris stood side by side, their silhouettes etched against the glowing horizon. The horrors of battle lingered, but were tempered by the steadfast strength of their union. Iris took a deep breath, feeling the wolf no longer shackled but fiercely alive within. "This is only the beginning," she murmured. Nox nodded, his eyes reflecting the dawn's first light and the steel of unwavering determination. "Together, we face whatever comes next." With hearts intertwined and powers unleashed, they stepped forward, warriors forged in flame, ready to write their destiny across the endless sky. Chapter 7. Bonds forged in fire. The dawn painted the sky with hues of amber and rose as Nox and Iris stood together amidst the aftermath of battle. The victory was theirs, but the scars ran deeper than flesh and bone. The true challenge lay not in defeating enemies, but in claiming the pieces of their fractured souls. For Nox, leadership had always demanded sacrifice, not just of self, but of freedom, trust, and moments that would otherwise belong to solitude. He had worn the mantle of Alpha with pride, but beneath the armor was a man eager for a partner who could stand beside him, not behind. Iris, having reclaimed her power and spirit, was more than his mate. She was his equal, his confidant, and the luminous center of his storm. The bond they were about to forge was not born out of desperation, but from a melding of strength and vulnerability, a conscious step into shared destiny. The sacred grounds awaited them, an ancient clearing suffused with the essence of their ancestors. Towering oaks stretched toward the heavens, their leaves whispering the memory of countless claimings, bonds forged, and legacies born. The pack assembled, a sea of familiar faces bound by loyalty and the heavy weight of the moment. Silence fell, thick and respectful, as Nox and Iris stepped into the center of the clearing. The ritual began under a crescent moon, the air electric with anticipation and ancient magic. Nox took Iris's hands, his touch firm yet tender, grounding her in the present, even as the past and future converged. Their eyes locked, conveying promises beyond words, trust, protection, and an unwavering bond that transcended time. Nox's voice, deep and resonant, intoned the sacred words passed down through generations, weaving power and protection into the very fabric of their union. The crescendo of his command intertwined with Iris's response, a chorus of acceptance and release. Pain flared, a mixture of surrender and awakening, as ancient energies coursed through them. Iris's wolf stirred, wild and fierce, untamed yet honored. The ritual was both physical and spiritual, an awakening that stripped away doubts and fears. The pack raised their voices in a harmonious howl, the sound reverberating through the trees, sealing the bond with communal blessing. In the days that followed, Nox and Iris adjusted to the weight of co-leadership. Decisions that once rested solely on Nox's broad shoulders were now shared with Iris's empathetic wisdom and fierce resolve. Their partnership reshaped the pack dynamic, blending strategic strength with heartfelt compassion. Iris's ability to heal and command empathic influence fostered newfound harmony, while Nox's tactical mind ensured vigilance against external threats. Yet vestiges of darkness lingered, whispers of Victoria Grimm's long shadow and the fragile alliances tested by dread of upheaval. Their rule was marked by trials, political challenges, tests of loyalty, and the ever-present danger lurking in the city's dark veins. But their united front was resolute, a beacon for the pack and a defiance to their enemies. The mating ritual was no ending but a potent beginning, a deep vow to share power, burdens, and victories alike. Together, Nox and Iris would forge a future where love was strength and unity was survival. Under the starlit sky, with the pack gathered in solemn witness, Nox and Iris stood not just as mates, but as sovereigns of a new era. Their eyes shone with fierce promise, their hearts bound by a fire ignited in both passion and purpose. Their story was far from over. Indeed, it was just beginning. The ritual unfolded beneath the midnight sky, the moon a pale witness to the sacred covenant being born. The scent of burning sage and earth filled the clearing, an ancient chant rising from the pack in rhythm with the pounding of their hearts. Nox knelt before Iris, his eyes never leaving hers as he traced symbols once spoken only in whispers on her skin, each touch igniting sparks of ancient energy. The air shimmered with raw power, a tapestry of generations of alphas whose spirits watched and blessed from beyond. Iris felt the surge ripple through her, a cascade of sensations. Strength, vulnerability, surrender, all blending in a potent elixir that melted away the last vestiges of fear. Her wolf responded with a howl vibrating through her core, a reclaiming of identity and power. The physical ritual was demanding, a test of endurance and trust as bodies intertwined and spirits coalesced. Pain gave way to exhilaration, boundaries dissolved, and a new force was born, one that pulsed with the heartbeat of the pack. The pack encircled them in solemn observance, their collective howl a sound both triumphant and mournful, a song of old and new, of broken pasts and hopeful futures. In the weeks that followed, Nox and Iris redefined what it meant to lead, their strengths intertwined like the roots of the ancient oak surrounding their home. Decisions were debated and shared with respect, and a fierce commitment to the pack's welfare. Iris's empathy healed old wounds in the pack, mending rifts and inspiring loyalty through her unwavering compassion and quiet strength. Nox's sharp strategy and fierce protection forged a shield against those who would see their legacy undone. Political storms brewed, and tests of allegiance loomed. But together, they navigated the treacherous waters of power with a bond tempered by fire and trust. Their co-rule inspired hope, an era where balance was sought between the fierce and the tender, the wolf and the human. They led not just with power, but with heart. The pack flourished under their guidance, strength renewed, unity forged beneath the bond that neither time nor treachery could sever. The nights were no longer haunted by shadows, but illuminated by the promise of dawn, a dawn that Nox and Iris would greet as true mates, leaders, and legends. One evening, under a sky blanketed with stars, Nox and Iris shared a moment of rare intimacy, a silence filled with promises and fears. They spoke not just as mates but as equals, laying bare their souls in the quiet sanctuary of their chambers. "We've been through fire," Iris whispered, tracing circles on Nox's palm. "But what scares me is not the fight, it's what comes after." Nox's eyes softened. "The future is unknown, but with you, I am stronger. Together there's nothing we can't face." Their shared vulnerability was a bridge, mending years of solitude and pain. Yet, danger never rested. Whispers of Victoria Grimm's remaining followers stirred unrest within the pack, challenges to their authority emerging like shadows at twilight. Political intrigue and veiled threats tested the young rulers daily. Each challenge was a crucible, forging their bond and leadership. Through strategy sessions and quiet moments alike, Nox and Iris shaped the destiny of their pack, determined to leave a legacy worthy of those who had fallen. The mating bond was not merely a union of passion, but a foundation for a reign built on trust, sacrifice, and unyielding love. As dawn stretched its fingers across the sky, Nox and Iris stood together, a silhouette of strength and hope. The challenges ahead were many, but so was their resolve. This was not just survival, it was a new chapter, a testament to the power of bonds forged in fire. The ancient trees surrounding their estate bore silent witness to a new chapter written in fire and loyalty. With each breath, Nox and Iris sealed not just their bond, but the legacy of a pack reborn. Their story was ablaze in the darkness, illuminating a path for generations to come, a path carved by strength, love, and an unbreakable bond. As the stars faded and the city stirred awake, they stood ready, king and queen, mate and alpha, united in heart and soul. The future belonged to them. Chapter 8. New Dawn. Rising 6 months had passed since the inferno that reshaped the destiny of Nox Steelridge's pack, and the woman who had become his mate and equal. The shadows that once threatened to consume them had receded, leaving a fragile peace blossoming beneath the city's steel and stone. The Steel Ridge estate, once a fortress of war and whispers, had transformed into a beacon of sanctuary and renewal. Magic and technology intertwined in harmony, creating a haven where supernatural beings found refuge and healing. Nox and Iris moved through this new world hand in hand, their bond an unbreakable pillar of strength for themselves and their pack. Iris's pregnancy was a promise of hope and future, her strength and power a radiant light brightening even the darkest corners. The pack thrived under their co-leadership. Old wounds healed as families were reunited and futures rebuilt. The network of dark forces had been dismantled, but vigilance remained. The city was a living, breathing entity, ever-changing and unpredictable. The surrounding neighborhoods reflected the change. Where once suspicion and fear had reigned, there was now cautious respect and acceptance. Nox's name was spoken with reverence, not only among wolves, but across other supernatural factions. Iris's healing powers, combined with Nox's strategic mind and fierce protection, eventually became legendary, drawing supernatural beings from distant packs seeking refuge and guidance. Within the pack, traditions were honored but adapted, reflecting the new era Nox and Iris envisioned. Community gatherings celebrated not only strength and survival, but unity and hope. Nox, standing atop the estate's highest tower one crisp morning, gazed into the distance where the city's skyline stretched vast and sprawling. Under the rising sun, the world seemed ripe with possibility. Iris joined him, her hand resting gently on her growing belly, a symbol of their commitment and legacy. "Together we've built more than a pack," she said softly. "We've built a family." Nox smiled, pulling her close against the cold breeze. "The future is ours to shape, with every choice, every battle, and every moment of love." Their influence spread beyond the city's limits, kindling hope and change among the supernatural communities across the continent. Alliances shifted. Old grudges softened as stories of their courage reached distant ears. Rare moments of calm allowed Nox and Iris to reflect on their journey, from hunted and haunted to leaders united by love and purpose. On a clear summer evening, the estate's great hall brimmed with laughter and celebration. The pack gathered to honor the new life soon to come and the shared future theirs to claim. Music and joy filled the air, a testament to resilience and rebirth. Amidst the festivities, Nox and Iris found solace on the balcony, gazing at the stars alight against the velvet sky. "Our journey continues," Nox murmured, voice thick with promise and resolve. Iris nodded, eyes bright, vision fixed on the horizon where moonlight touched dawn. Together, forever stronger. Beyond them, the city slept beneath a blanket of peace and promise. A new dawn rising for Nox, Iris, and the pack forged from fire and shadow. The birth of their first pups was a moment of profound joy and solemn responsibility. The pack gathered around, their howls weaving a symphony of life and legacy. New generations breathed hope into a lineage once threatened by darkness. Nox watched with pride as Iris nurtured their young, her strength and compassion evident in every gentle touch. Her healing abilities eased the aches of birth and soothed the fears of new life. Leadership took on new layers of complexity as Nox and Iris balanced their roles as parents and rulers. Political tensions simmered beneath the surface, old rivalries threatened to erupt, and new alliances demanded delicate navigation. Their nights were filled with whispered plans and strategic counsel, the weight of their legacy pressing upon them even as they cherished the sanctity of their home. Despite the ever-present threats, a sense of hope and renewal infused the pack. Their influence extended beyond mere survival. They aimed to build a community where strength and compassion were intertwined. The city had transformed into a crossroads of coexistence, where humans and supernatural beings navigated a delicate dance of secrecy and acceptance. Iris and Nox often walked through the estate's gardens, dreaming aloud of a future where their descendants would run free, unburdened by fear or chains. Ancient legends mingled with modern ambitions, weaving a tapestry rich with the promise of change. Their love had become a catalyst for transformation, not just for themselves but for an entire world poised on the edge of evolution. Pack elders, once skeptical of change, now looked upon Nox and Iris with respect and admiration. Their vision had rekindled ancient traditions while embracing the challenges of a modern world. Young wolves trained under Iris's guidance, learning not only to fight, but to heal and protect. Nox's tactical teachings ensured they were prepared for threats both old and new. The unity fostered within the pack rippled outward, inspiring neighboring territories to rethink old conflicts in favor of cooperation. Visitors from distant lands arrived seeking wisdom and alliances, drawn by tales of a pack unlike any other. Amidst this growing network, Nox and Iris maintained a careful balance of power and diplomacy, aware that peace was earned and fragile. At times, the weight of expectation bore down heavily, moments of doubt threatening to crack their resolve. Yet, with every challenge, their bond deepened, a fortress against the uncertainty. On clear nights, their thoughts often turned to the future. Children running through sunlit forests, leaders rising strong from the shadows of their trials, and legacies built on love as fierce as the wild. The new dawn was more than a promise. It was a reality unfolding with every step they took, a testament to the power of unity and the unbreakable spirit of the wolf. In the quiet of the estate's twilight gardens, Nox and Iris stood hand in hand, watching the stars emerge one by one. The city beyond buzzed with life and promise, unaware of the delicate balance maintained by forces both seen and unseen. "Do you think we've truly changed the world?" Iris asked softly, her gaze fixed on the constellations. Nox smiled, his thumb tracing gentle circles on her palm. "Change is a tide, sometimes slow, sometimes swift. But with you, I believe we've begun a flood." They dreamed together of a future where their children would lead with courage, love, and wisdom, free from the chains that had bound their ancestors. Their story was one of fire and shadow, of battles fought and won, but above all, of love forged in the crucible of hardship. It was a tale they would tell for generations, a beacon for those who dare to rise. As the first light of dawn kissed the horizon, Nox and Iris embraced, hearts beating in shared rhythm. A promise echoed in the silence between stars. The new dawn was theirs to shape, a legacy woven from strength, unity, and an unyielding spirit that refused to be extinguished. But Nox and Iris's journey is just the beginning. Across our world, countless other souls are struggling with their own silence, searching for awakening, fighting battles that no one else can hear. Their tales of transformation and fierce love are waiting to be discovered. By choosing not to subscribe, you're leaving these stories unspoken, these wolves unheard. You're walking away after witnessing this powerful awakening without helping others find their own roar. A true member of our pack never abandons those still silenced in the shadows. If you're ready to join our pack, share your thoughts in the comments below. Our supernatural family truly values you taking this journey with us tonight. Your time means everything to us. If this story awakened something within your heart, we have an entire collection of passionate tales waiting for you. Stories of forbidden bonds, second chances, and alpha connections that defy all odds. Why not lose yourself in another adventure right now? And if you want to ensure you never miss when we release our next transformative journey, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We'd be honored to welcome you into our storytelling pack. Until our paths cross again in the next tale. Thank you for listening to this story.